Now to an ABC News 4 exclusive.
There was paperwork that had my name on it where it was moved somewhere else that I didn't sign. It wasn't my signature.
A state trooper is telling all about his dealings with Alex Murdaugh, the crash that broke his neck, the personal injury settlement, and the missing money. And he only spoke to our investigative reporter, Ann Emerson.
Well, Lieutenant Tommy Moore agreed to speak with us, and only with us. He was involved in a crash in 2018. He was represented by Alex Murdaugh and still hasn't been compensated for his medical expenses.
We had wrecks galore.
4 years ago, with snow falling, it was all hands on deck for state troopers.
We had troopers and we have limited manpower. All the lieutenants went out to help.
And as Lieutenant Thomas Moore sat in his patrol car, he got hit.
Causing it to basically drive up under my car and lift it up and then slant it back down, and it broke my seat in the process and threw me back.
The pain was excruciating.
And it basically felt like I was being, for lack of a better word, shocked with electric current. I felt like current was running through my arms and legs.
Moore says he was misdiagnosed for months, walking around with a broken neck.
Initially, I hired, I call it the Murdaugh Law Firm. I'm not sure exactly what the whole PMP thing is. But anyway, I went to Mr. Murdaugh. A trooper friend of mine that was retired recommended him.
With assurances from Alex Murdaugh that the money would come, Moore had surgery covered temporarily by his personal insurance.
At C5, they put in a metal disc. They actually fused C6 and C7 together and put in a metal plate. And that's pretty much the extent of it. They had to basically put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
As promised, $100,000 did come through, Moore says.
They paid what, it was $100,000 covered, and that's what they paid out.
So it was $100,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And that $100,000 came to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did you receive that money?
It came in the mail. I was called ahead of time, I don't know, a couple days maybe, and told that a check would be coming to me and that I needed to take it to the law firm and endorse it, and I never had access to that. And it had to stay in an account and nobody could touch it until this case was resolved.
And that's what happened for about 3.5 years, with his workman's compensation case still unresolved and medical bills piling up until Moore got a call from a lawyer at Murdaugh's firm.
Mr. Ball called me and said, "Look, Tommy, there's a problem. Your money's been taken."
So somebody forged your signature?
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't know who that was? You don't know if it was Alex Murdaugh, but you know that you didn't sign that paperwork?
I don't know who actually physically signed it. I do know that Mr. Murdaugh took that money and put it in another account. I know he did that because the paperwork I was shown, unbeknownst to me, it was gone the day I gave it to him. It went somewhere else.
And that check, he says, was made out to forge the name of an account court records show belonged to Alex Murdaugh. Lieutenant Moore also says he hasn't gotten his $100,000 settlement from Murdaugh's former law firm because they are still charging him attorney's fees after all he's been through. He wants Alex Murdaugh to stay in jail until a jury of his peers decides his fate in a court.
Our other top story tonight, what will happen to 23 schools in the Charleston County School District? Just in the last 30 minutes, the Reimagine proposal was struck from the full board's agenda. In our Eli Brand downtown at 75 Calhoun, following these developments. And meanwhile, outside district headquarters, there were protesters who believe this is not the right thing for the schools or the students. We have team coverage of this major story breaking right now. Eli Brand is in the full board meeting, and there is some breaking news tonight. The board announced the district has a new interim CFO replacing Don Kennedy. She is Shauna Williams and comes from Baltimore City Schools. The board also tabled tonight's vote on a plan to spend $33 million on 24 schools. During the Committee of the Whole meeting, members heard from teachers, principals, and even parents about the Reimagine Schools concept. The majority of the public speaking tonight said they are against the proposal.
I stand for 23 principals who are affected by Reimagine Schools. We are adamantly, ardently, and passionately against Reimagine proposal and wish for the measure to be eviscerated.
You've heard from the community. You've heard the voice of the community say they don't want this. And now it's time for you to act.
I'm a farmer on Johns Island and the father of 4 children, 3 of which attend Angel Oak Elementary School. I'm here today to urge you to dismiss the Reimagine Schools proposal. I have onions to plant and chickens to feed, but I'm here right now because it's too important to remain silent.
The board just voted on keeping the mask policy in place through mid-March, but the board has postponed its vote tonight on the Reimagine project. And while this has been going on inside, parents and educators have gathered outside. Our Tara Jabbour is outside the school district with why so many people have so many concerns tonight. Tara?
Hey Tessa, that's right. Around 30 people were outside here today. Some people were in favor of that Reimagine Schools proposal, while other people don't think it's a good idea. Now, one thing that both groups agree on is that there needs to be a change at those 23 targeted schools.
The Reimagine Schools proposal is creating a divide among community members. Some say the proposal is not what is right for the struggling schools.
Their plan is failed. We need to go to single district superintendents. We need to go back there again to allocate our funding, make sure we get the right funding for our kids, make sure we have the adequate teachers, we can break down the school sizes.
Others feel the district was trying to quickly vote on the proposal without giving the community time to understand what it entailed.
It's incomplete. It lacks any significant detail that one would need to justify the expenditure of $32 million.
Frank Beloit says he wishes the district would focus on getting more mental health counselors and creating smaller class sizes. He thinks bettering the school should come from inside.
Go to that school, you should go to the principal, you should go to the teachers, you should go to the PTA and say, we got $1.5 million to make things better. What do you want to do with it?
Charleston Rise, an organization of parents, has been for the proposal since the beginning.
We do believe that there needs to be a change when it comes to education, the current education system that we're in now. One of the things that we look at is the achievement gap, and we see how horribly Black and brown children are being educated.
Cheryl Cromwell says what the district has been doing is not working, so it's time for change.
I know that we can't continue on the way we've been doing things. I know that there is enough funds out there to accommodate multiple plans.
And again, there are 23 schools that are included in that proposal. The board will vote on it in a couple of weeks. All of these schools are considered poor performing, according to the district.
And we wanted to see if hospitals in the Lowcountry were experiencing similar problems. Our Charleston Clark spoke with a local nursing student to find out what she's been facing while working in the hospitals.
Caitlin West is a nursing student at Charleston Southern University. She's on her 3rd semester of the program, but COVID has impacted the staffing at hospitals across the Lowcountry, tacking on more work for nursing students.
We do help a very good bit and do a lot of the work that the nurses don't have to do because we do the stuff that they usually don't have time for.
It's given students like West a new perspective on healthcare.
I know for a lot of us, it definitely made us look at things a different way and consider, like that very first semester when we started, it made us consider whether or not we wanted to continue doing it because the way that nursing is portrayed on the media and television shows and whatever is completely unrealistic. So we actually get to see it firsthand and understand how the nurses are feeling.
Many of those nurses say they're feeling overwhelmed.
I know a lot of our nurses feel very overworked and have discussed it with us as students to mentally prepare ourselves for that, because if we continue going down the road that we're going with COVID and other things that are coming up, we're going to be stuck in the same position.
Another issue hospitals and families are facing, limited visitation.
Not very fair to the family or the nurses, because the family they do help the nurses a lot when they're allowed in the hospital, but only being allowed one family member a day takes a toll on the nurses with communication, because then they have to call home back and forth to give them info that they can't get in person. And it's a lot of extra stuff that shouldn't have to be done.
New nurses may get a few extra dollars in their pockets as well.
The sign-on bonuses have increased a lot in this area and all over South Carolina right now, just so that they can start to fill the gaps.
Extra money for a lot of extra work behind the walls of healthcare. Working for you, Charleston Clark, ABC News 4.
And we have reached out to MUSC, Roper St. Francis, Trident, and East Cooper Medical Center. MUSC, Roper, and East Cooper all tell us staffing is tight, but manageable in almost all areas.